Be seen and not heard, my dad used to say.
Welcome to the ErbaQuest podcast. Introducing your ErbaQuest team, Yuli V, John Z, and Justin C. They're bringing you what's burning in cannabis entertainment, events, vendors, cultivation, and culture. So grab your fucking bong. Damn son, who's the plug? And enjoy the show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the ErbaQuest podcast. Welcome back. I am Yuli V. With me is Justin C and John Z. Down or up or where, however you see them right now. They are actually in 1969. They're in the actual broadcast right now.
Yes, you are correct, sir. It is 1969, July.
How is it out there in space, John?
It's going good.
We're not dead. We're not dead right now. Yeah, so welcome back to the ErbaQuest podcast. We have John and Justin out in space right now. They're covering the moon landing, 1969. I'm Yuli V here in studio. Yeah. They're ascending higher and higher. So we're actually doing a little restructuring. So now we're going to be covering some conspiracy theories that everyone talks about. Because why not, man? Got to get interested.
Hey, ground control.
Yeah.
You're able to smoke in a spaceship now.
I see that. Good for you, John. Good for you. So yeah. So we're going to do conspiracy theories. So today, like I said, they're in 1969. I'm here in real time, although had a little alteration because with the time machines and everything, now I'm black and white. So it is what it is. So
we just want you guys to know something though here real quick, that we're still actually in the Earth's orbit, so we can hear you in real time. But if we were on the moon, we would not be able to. Little fact of knowledge there.
Okay, John.
We're diving into the moon today, guys. We're going to talk about, did we fucking land there? Different thoughts on how that either did or did not happen, right? And we're going to fucking tear them apart and let you know what the hell we think.
So right now what we're doing is we're actually looking at some footage from the moon landing just to kind of get a glimpse of what everyone else saw in 1969.
Here, hold on. Let's get out of the window.
Fast forward it a little bit. Let's check it out a little bit here. So a lot of people say that, obviously the moon landing's fake, that it never really happened, which makes a lot of Americans sad because it was like the most glorious moment of the United States history, being the first people to be on the moon. So we're like, watching it, and it seems to me like, I mean, I've never been in space, but I'm guessing that it would look something like that. What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
I don't know. This is the narrative we've been sold, right? Like, this is what it is. So, of course, this is what we think it's going to look like. And I'm not trying to sound like a Scrooge, but just playing devil's advocate, like, there's
look how he's like hopping around.
The possibility that that's like not a thing. You know what I mean?
It just, to me, it looks like he's on bungees right now. Like that. Like, I feel like, how is he so grounded? You know what I'm saying? So purely out of like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. This dude looks like he's on bungee cords, like just like hopping around. Like, first of all, you're in space, you're on the moon. There's no gravity on the moon. It's just a fucking rock.
This is somebody's,
and he's got his arms out like he's hanging.
This video is like a typical psychedelic trip. If you look at it in any facet, the guy's having a good time, just getting filmed.
Well, yo, what's that shadow that's moving?
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah. That was probably.
Yo, what was that?
They're smoking in the ship.
I think that was like, it had to have been the camera because it kind of looked like. Did you go back?
Yeah,
we need to figure this shit out. That was
whether this is real or not. There was like 400,000 people involved in this program, so that means there's 400,000 liars.
Right.
That's
so
crazy.
Right now we see like there's a astronaut in the back there working on the lunar lander. I'm guessing that's what
I have a question though. So you're telling me that from 1969 to 1972, the United States put 12 astronauts on the moon and poof, never did it again.
Yeah, 6
and
crews.
nobody else did. Now, mind you, we're in the middle of a
6-man crews.
space race. We're in the middle of a space race with Russia, and Russia was like, fuck it. You know what? America did it. We're good. We believe them. They made it. So did everybody else.
Here it comes.
I think that's just him in the lens. It's such an old lens.
No, what is
every
yeah,
time
shot up?
Let's see it now. Let's see it now. So he's gonna walk back in front of the lens. That's just him, I think. But it gets weird. It's like it's way weirder, like not right now.
That
so
looks
there it is
loose,
again.
religious
I think that's him because then look, he crosses back over. I don't know. We're gonna get into ghosts later, but that's freaking weird. Anyways,
that's him.
So John brings up a good point. Like at that time, you know, like we were in like 1969 when we first put supposedly put people on the moon. We were in like a space race with Russia, and like we were also like, Cold War shit like that. So for sure, like we wanted to be better than them. So like why wouldn't we lie about doing a moon landing? So a lot of like, bigger scientists like, Tyson, what is it? What's his name? Neil Tyson deGrasse or whatever the fuck his name is.
Mike Tyson?
Yeah, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson once said, no. I forgot his name. But anyways, Neil deGrasse or whatever. I saw something on him. So to quote him, he basically said like it would cost more money to like manufacture, like a fake set than to actually go to the moon. But like that doesn't make sense to me because why haven't we gone there since? Like we have all this technology and shit. We just haven't been there since. So that's weird to me. So the space race for sure, John. I think that
we're also gonna get
why
into
would
it.
we want to lie about it?
We could touch back a little bit, but like they say that there's this layer of radiation, right, that we're unable to penetrate through, right? At this point in time, 50 years later, we're unable to penetrate through. But then also, not only in 1969 did they have the capability and technology to do so, but then they also got back through it from the moon. Like, do you know how much power and liftoff it took to get off the Earth to get there? So how did they get back?
With
right.
the technology,
so
less than a cell phone.
Well, with you saying that too, like with the radiation and other conspiracy theory is like, well, if the moon landing actually happened, then why don't all these astronauts have radiation poisoning? Because like all the shit you got to get through, plus being on the moon, like plus being that close to the sun, I mean, for sure you should have some type of radiation poisoning.
They had TSA pre-check, so they didn't get radiation. That's a thing.
They had what?
TSA pre-check. They just went straight up to the moon. No radiation. Quick, simple, done.
Right, but from what Justin's saying, like they have to go through all this other radiation. Like there's no way that they had that type of technology to shield themselves from certain types of radiation at that
Plus,
time.
they're able to hear ground control, like we were touching base on earlier. And if you're out of the Earth's orbit, it's like a delay. You're not going to hear it instantly. I don't know. Justin's got a video that we might be able to play.
So since we're talking about like this current stance of it not happening at all, right? There is this guy who goes by the name of, it's all the way at the end of my notes here, bear with me. Bart Sibrel, right? And he's like the main guy who's sort of gone after the astronauts and really dug into this. His father was in the Air Force and was really super into the whole space landing, right? He was 4 years old in 1969. His dad was given like this picture that he looked at every day and he really liked it. And then he saw this video that made him say that there was a or told him there would be a 1 in 10,000% chance of actually landing on the moon the first time they tried to do it, but yet we were able to do so, right? And so he dug deeper and found that while we were racing against Russia, Russia was sending pets, they were sending satellites, they were sending men, women, everything to the moon. And for every 1 hour that we put in space time, they put in 500, but yet they never landed on the moon. So that was a big kind of look at it for him. 2 of the 3 astronauts are not willing to take interviews. The administrator of NASA resigned just days before the actual mission, according to this guy. I have not fact checked him. And he was also this guy, Bart Sibrel, is a filmmaker whose job it is to make real fake shit look real. And he says that all of the footage that we see is definitely fake. There's crisscrossing shadows at 90 degrees. If the natural sunlight is shining on our planet or the moon, for example, it would be all parallel shadows, right? Like 2 trees with the same light behind it would be like this, not a human here and a rock here, where the rock shadow is this way from a light that's coming from that direction, and the human shadow is this way from a light coming this direction, studio style, right? And so
tree, shadow,
right,
they should not be crossing.
yeah, at all. And just to kind of speak to that whole we shouldn't make it the first time, they didn't make it to the South Pole the first time they tried. They didn't make it to the North Pole the first time they tried. They did not cross the Atlantic Ocean the first time they tried. And once they did, hundreds of planes were then crossing the Atlantic Ocean on a regular basis. Nobody has ever returned to the moon. What's going on here, right?
So Yuli's theory is that it was completely faked. I think that the whole like first moon landing, they're fucking there, whatever, was totally faked. I think that it was filmed in a studio. I go along with the conspiracy theory that Stanley Kubrick produced and filmed that whole shit, because at the time he's the one that came out with the 2001 Space Odyssey. It was a big film, like the biggest special effects that anyone's ever seen, you know. So plus at that time, you have Lucas, like that whole Star Wars shit that was going on. He was just starting to film that and get that going. So you have so many good special effects directors in the United States and the world at that time. I don't see why it wasn't. Now, to say that all of the film was faked, I don't think so, because I mean, let's put it this way, like even back in the day when you had explorers going to the new world, they were sending out crews to scout it first. So clearly, obviously, we probably sent a satellite first, right, to look at it, to take pictures of it. So I think that a lot of that, like panning across, the surface and stuff like that, is real footage from a satellite, not from the crew. And then when they're actually there, I think that was all completely faked. So with the Stanley Kubrick, it's freaking crazy, because have you ever seen The Shining? Have you guys ever seen The Shining before?
Mm-hmm. Rad Ron.
Right. So Kubrick was crazy, man. Like he was just a very eccentric person. He was a very very good at what he did, and at hiding things and putting Easter eggs and stuff. So if you watch The Shining, Danny himself is actually wearing an Apollo 11 sweater. Like his sweater says Apollo 11 on it. So he is okay. Why is that in there? That's crazy.
Yo,
so,
say sweater again real quick.
Sweater.
The first time you said it, you really made it like you sweat in a sweater. I liked it.
Oh my God.
It was nice.
So don't throw me off, John. Damn it.
Sorry. I was so warm.
Oh, I was on a path there. I had it. So anyway, so he's wearing the sweater. He's wearing the Apollo 11 sweater. Now there's one scene where he's like playing on the floor with like all these cars and stuff, but the actual like image like that is in the floor, it's a pattern. It looks exactly like the landing pad. It looks exactly like the landing pad where Apollo 11 took off. So he's playing there, and then all of a sudden he like gets up and he goes and he walks down a hallway and he goes into the room 237, which is like the biggest thing of that whole movie. It's like room 237's like haunted and blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out, room 237 was actually room 217 in the book, but he changed it to 237. A lot of people speculate the reason he did that is because the moon is like 237,000 miles away from Earth, but that varies from like 237 to 265. So that's kind of, I don't know, that could be a reach. So, but if you think about it, it's literally it literally signifies my man is the Apollo 11 shuttle. He's on the landing pad and he launches and he walks over to room 237, which is supposed to be the moon. How fucking crazy is that? But other than that, there's so much other tells in there. Like there's actually like a there's a picture on the wall in the in one of the like the offices that has like the moon on it or something like that. Also there's like a box that's in the storage, like the storage, like the food storage, when there's like a big scene in the food storage, and it says 39, and the launch pad was number 39, which is fucking crazy.
And
but also there's like
pads.
And there's no launch pad, and there's tons of tang in there. Like if you watch it, there's tang. Like there's just like there's all this other shit in there, but then there's just an abundance of tang, which is like the number one thing that astronauts drink on the shuttle and shit.
Like
which
orange
is wild.
tang.
Yeah, like tang.
I was gonna say I was like, there was pootie tang. Like what is going on?
Sarate, my brother.
yeah. Watatama, Damie. So, anyways, that's what I think. I think that it was definitely staged, you know, in a studio. I mean, they even admit to having studios that have like moon-like atmosphere and stuff like that, so that they could train.
They didn't even have
they already had
stars, like actual stars in the pictures. And like
so that's another
landing craft too. There wasn't a crater underneath it from when the thing landed.
So the whole star situation, which is pretty wild. So if you think about stars in a sense that like we're on Earth, and when the sun's out, we can't see the stars, right? You can't see them. So one theory is that with the stars, they were so close to the sun that it blotted out all the stars. You can't see anything. There's just so much sunlight. But where does sunlight really travel, and where does it touch? Because obviously the sunlight touches our atmosphere so that we can't see outside of it. So I don't really know about that one, but
or no.
But with the stars, I got a good one.
Sunlight from the backside.
I got a good one. So with the stars, so there was 3 astronauts, right? So we had Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins, right? So Michael Collins was like the dude that stayed in the shuttle. He didn't even really go down, but he was always in the shuttle. So when they brought him back, so when they all came back from their space trip and shit, from deep space, right? So you're 237,000 miles away. At some point you should be able to see stars, right? So they get them back. They're in the press conference. Number one, they all look nervous as fuck. None of them look like they just went to space, and like, they all look nervous because they're getting asked all these fucking questions, and they're just like that. They just look all like maybe number one, maybe they saw some shit that they didn't like. Number two, maybe they just didn't fucking go and they had no clue what they were talking about. But they asked Michael Collins specifically, like, when you were out there, did you see any stars? And he was like, no, I didn't see any stars. Like, I didn't see shit. Like, I was in the shuttle the whole time, right? Years later, he writes a book about the moon landing, and in it tells how miraculous the stars looked and shit. So there's mad like discrepancies from then to now, even, that like these people aren't telling the truth. I mean, not only that, but you can look up fucking Buzz Aldrin anywhere. I mean, you can look him up and he's telling right there that it's fake, that it never happened. Like, I mean, people say dementia and shit like that, but I mean, you're on the moon, dude. That's something you don't forget. You don't tell people it never happened. Like, he's in fucking interviews being like, no, it never happened. Never happened. It was fake. And people are like, what?
I found out a whole other theory though, right? That we did land on the moon, but the video we all saw was fake, right? And that what happened when we landed on the moon was that there was either some level of either extraterrestrials or extraterrestrial artifacts, maybe from even in the past, that if you look at the Brookings report, they stated that any evidence of extraterrestrial life could be detrimental to society, right? And so that was shortly before the time of the whole spacecraft thing. And so we go to the moon. The theory is that we landed there and we found what we already thought was going to be there, extraterrestrial artifacts or life. And we thought that because of satellite imagery showing weird structures, et cetera, et cetera. And so because we already thought that was going to be there, there was a pre-recorded video, right? Just in case things went wrong. Maybe when we landed, it wasn't friendly. They could trick the whole world and make them think it went right, which obviously we think they did regardless. But the theory is that potentially we interacted with ET and they didn't want the world to know that. And so we were shown a fake tape.
So there's a few different takes on that for sure. And I believe that. I mean, I definitely think that we landed on the moon. I think that they faked, like you said, they faked the video because they just needed to show America and the world that they did it, right? And you can't do it fucking live, because if you're doing it live, now you're subject to, if anything fucking happens, even if these astronauts die up there, right, anything could have happened, they'd be dead, right? So I think that they landed there. You're right. They definitely found some shit, because I mean, you think about it, from 1969 to 1972, they were doing manned missions, right? They're doing manned missions. They do this, and that. They just look around. They never went to the dark side of the moon and reported back from the dark side of the moon. Not only that, there's a mission. I forgot which mission it was, but when they were out there, they actually went around the moon and they went to the dark side of the moon. So communication, right? They're in communication the whole time. They start on film, like on recording, they start saying that they hear some weird like noise, like a song almost, and all of a sudden it cuts out, right? And like so many minutes later, they come back and they're like, "Yo, did you guys hear that? Like, it was wild. Like, we heard this weird noise and like it sounded like a song or something." And then they just come back and that's it, right? That's weird. Not only that, I mean, they talked about when they were on the moon, and this is from all the missions, because I specifically don't know which one it was, but while they were on the moon, an asteroid or a meteor or whatever hit the moon, and it sounded like it rang, like it just completely rang like a bell. That's crazy. I mean, it's kind of like a rock. How is it ringing like a bell?
This all ties into the spaceship moon theory, that people think that like the inside core has substantial life inside, which is aliens.
And also the majority of elements are actually considered metals. Like most.
Well, yeah. So like if you get a meteor,
the Earth is composed of is metal.
Well, yeah, so and if you get like if you get a meteor or something like that, or a comet, and it hits Earth, it's metallic in nature, because everything basically in space is kind of like a metallic object, right?
I mean, I guess you could hear a ring, because there's another theory that the moon is hollow, and that
right, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Like a dense core, which is more dense than the Earth. So if it hit a thin crust, which would also kind of tie into why wasn't there a little crater underneath the spaceship when it landed? Just because if it is such a thin crust with a dense core, then
so I watched like a science video on the whole landing, and like because basically when they take off too, like there's really no jet stream coming out of the lander itself. So they're like, well, if there's no jet stream or if there's no rocket stream, like how is it doing that? It's science. They science the fuck out of it. You could check that out. It's totally debunked. Unfortunately, that's one of the ones that's not super like
they were saying you don't need like the thrust to actually push off the moon, and you don't need it like you go down gently, apparently.
But basically, because there's no wind and shit like that, there's just a bunch of variables. But I did see a one that was pretty crazy. A lot of people talk about like the footprints on the moon and shit like that. Like they're like, oh, the famous footprints, and like this is what it looked like. But if you go back and like you go into the museum and you look at Neil Armstrong's fucking boot, it doesn't even match the boot. They're two different boots. The one boot, it looks like a fucking old school Nike, like you just set down and it has like all these ridges on the bottom. But if you look at the actual boot, there's like circles on the bottom and shit. So it don't even fucking match up. So that, for me, that's a fucking inconsistency. Like I said, I think we landed, but I think that video of Neil Armstrong and all the motherfuckers on there, that shit is totally fake. And the reason is because we had to win the space race. We had to win the fucking space race, bro.
Agreed.
We had to be better than Russia. We couldn't get beat by Russia. So now we did it. And now we're like, all right, we're going to go there. But then we actually found some fucking crazy shit that we didn't want to tell the whole rest of the world about. I mean, that shit ties in everywhere, man. Well, if you look up any video on Mars, right now, you will see the most crazy shit that they're finding on Mars. Like structures, fucking skulls, weird shit. They're actually finding that shit with these rovers on fucking Mars. That's wild. So you mean to tell me that Mars is farther, that there's not some shit on the moon? First of all, it's if you went there in 1969, all right? They you know what they said? You know why we haven't been to the moon? They lost the technology to get there. How the fuck did you do that? You're telling me Elon Musk right now is not like, yo, I'll go to the moon right now, because he will. He's ready to go to Mars. So why aren't we going to the moon? Why is Elon Musk not going to the moon? That's weird.
I got you. Because if you follow that other theory that I said where we found shit there, maybe there was actually extraterrestrial life there. And
that's what I'm saying.
They said, it was almost fucking like come back. Right. And then they put a radiation barrier around the fucking Earth because they didn't want us to leave again. They were like, no, fuck that. Stay in your goddamn home.
It's almost a fucking like a rhetorical question. Like, what, obviously there's some shit up there that no one wants to fucking tell us about. Why does the moon not? So everything else in the universe is fucking spinning around. Everything else is spinning, right? Everything spins. But the moon doesn't. It just revolves. That's weird. There's always a dark side of the moon. What's on that side? Maybe the moon's maybe there's only a half of a moon. How the fuck would we know? Whoa. Seriously, we don't. The shit's wild.
If it's a cup. So,
the moon can be fucking anything.
What if the layer of radiation is really just a layer of radiation that's being emitted from the firmament over a much larger planet that's really along the flat Earth theory, and Mars is just another land outside the ice wall? This is all shit we're gonna get into, guys.
Why?
Yeah, we got a flat earther in our group.
Why does
he's an aspiring flat earther, guys? An aspiring flat earther.
Why do people? It doesn't make sense when people say the world doesn't revolve around you. It's like, no, bitch, it spins.
Well, we do revolve around the sun.
But if somebody says that world,
but I guess you're right. Yeah,
it would spin around me because it doesn't, right? Or no?
No,
I'd be more like a moon.
It spins with you.
That would basically say they're like basically when someone says, when they tell you the Earth doesn't revolve around you, they're basically telling you that you're not the center of our solar system. You're not the sun.
No, we're like Lord of the Rings. We're just trees that move. He said.
Yeah, trees that move.
Who said that?
Me. Just now. That's all we are. We're just trees.
You're on some whole weird shit.
No, like we're moving with the Earth. You know what I'm saying? But we can move.
That Earth right here needs to be filleted and flattened and spread across.
Yo, on some wild shit.
I can't believe in the flat
You should look at the poster that he has for his son upstairs. It's a literal flat Earth.
It's not so much like that the surface, or that it's not a planet, I don't think. I think it's that the planet itself is much bigger, and all these other things are like worlds within. I don't know, man. I haven't done enough research.
You haven't.
I've been taught it's a fucking.
My man's going on pure theory, everybody.
I haven't done enough spiritual trips here lately.
He feels like. So just to be clear,
that's not
just be clear.
That's just a lot of.
That's talking about how he feels inside and what he thinks maybe. But also when we talk about the whole moon landing, we're just doing the same shit. So we don't fucking know.
Well, thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you think
we're gonna get high and we're gonna go on a quest to try and find the truth? Just try to figure it the fuck out?
Thumbs up or thumbs down, homeboy. What do you think? You land on the moon or didn't land on the moon?
We already said that we didn't land on the moon.
I don't know.
No, we landed, but what?
After it sounds like you think we did, but we didn't. I'm thinking that.
No, I literally said, I've already said it. We definitely landed on the moon, but the filming of it is fake. The filming of them being on the moon's fake, but the cinematic shit is real from satellites.
But then I thought you said later on that we went back there and landed on the moon.
There. I just don't know if humans went there. But I think we've been there and interacted with things.
I still don't think we have.
The fuck alone.
I think John's been smoking too much of the fucking moon dust that you guys.
I don't think we've been there
up there. What's going on over there?
I won a giveaway from the New York State Cannabis Club, and it had a pre-roll in it, and we smoked it. And I'm actually pretty fucking high.
Solid.
Yeah.
Shout out Cannabis Club.
I'm usually a pre-roll hater. I got to be real with it. But yeah, so we're gonna get into all kinds of crazy shit, people, and we want to know what you think. So what's your opinion? Have you heard a different take on this whole moon landing? I mean,
everyone should fucking have their own opinion, for sure.
Let us know what the fuck you think in the comments while you're doing that. Smash the fucking subscribe button.
Puke on that like button, everyone. Puke all over it.
Ew.
And ring the little bell and turn on notifications for every episode so that you don't miss what our favorites are. Stay lit.
Yeah. Stay informed. Peace.
Yeah.
Stay lit, stay informed.